Okay, so here you are, a budding entrepreneur who's ready to launch. What can you learn from a company like an Airbnb or Uber in how they cultivated their customer base early on?
Both Airbnb and Uber are, going into IPO mode for 2019. And there's an infinite amount of articles written on these and others like Pinterest and Slack and Lyft. And you can just read thousands of articles of what they're doing today. The challenge is if you're creating a startup and you're looking at what they're doing today, they're already big and fast moving. So it's kind of like you're a baby trying to learn how to crawl and you look at Usain Bolt as he goes in the Olympics faster than any other runner, and you're saying, I'm going to emulate Usain Bolt. By the way, I'm just trying to get my first steps. That's not going to work, right? At best, you should look at Usain Bolt when he was a baby trying to crawl and try to learn, okay, how does he do it? So that's what I decided to do. I decided to look at these companies in their early days. How did they acquire their first 1,000 customers? And it turns out that much of the things that they do now is different from what they did early on. In the beginning, number one, you can't acquire one customer at a time. It's going to take too long and you're going to run out of cash before that. So they acquired customers in bulk. What I mean by that is they figured out where can they get many customers at a time. Airbnb went to Craigslist and stole many customers at a time. Uber went to, when it's end of sports events. Instead of trying to get one rider at a time, end of sports events, everybody runs out, everybody's trying to get cabs, lots of people without it, and they tried to acquire many customers at the same time, right? Etsy went to fairs and acquired many customers at the same time. So figure out where you can go and you can tap into these other networks or pockets of demand in bulk and then acquire those customers, and then suddenly you grow very fast. That's one of the things. The other thing that they did is, while we'd like to think that they're tech companies, that they use the internet very well. Today, that's right, but in the beginning, most of their customer acquisition was offline. As I said, Etsy went into the actual fairs to try to get customers. Airbnb, they did lots of events in the streets of Paris, in the streets to try to convince people.
So those methods would not work today?
So those methods are the ones that you should do if you are a startup today. You should not go online to acquire customers.
So go back to the original way that these
That's right.
companies started.
So they only think about, startups only think about, I'm only going to use online customer acquisition strategies, Google and Facebook and Instagram, because they're scalable. I can just crank up the money and grow. The problem is they don't work very well in the early beginning and you just throw away money. Offline is the easiest way for you to convince customers. And so these companies did a lot of their customer acquisition offline. And as they grow, then they started moving online. But offline is the way to go. And so doing things that don't scale is actually much more important because you learn about the behaviors of customers and you adapt your value proposition and you convince them much more cost effectively. And Airbnb did the experiments. Facebook versus all these offline tactics in the beginning, Facebook ads were not as cost effective as offline. And then lastly, if you have a supply side, which Airbnb, Uber, and Etsy all did, you focus first on getting suppliers to your business, then on customers. Right? That's most important. You need the suppliers on board first before you start acquiring consumers.